Well, welcome back to Max and Abe Horsemanship and Baby Steps. And if you're wondering why I got my hood up today, it's not because it's cold. Okay, it's not real nice today, but it's kind of windy and I'd like to keep my hat on. Yeah, my hood is to keep my hat from blowing away in the wind. Do I need to tell you it's windy today? Yeah, it's always windy around here lately. Seems to be a lot worse than it used to be. I'm not sure what the deal is. I am going to play some horses today. And that one over there, idiot, eating a pallet. You guys are weirdos. There's a bunch, they're all right beside me here. They're about 10 feet away from me on the other side of the fence there, and they all want to come and say hi, and that's okay. That's a good thing. I'm glad they're that trusting of me and like to be with me that much. And why we do what we do. I want to explain some of that today. I've talked about most of this stuff, but I think I'm going to kind of clump it together because, well, as with many of my videos lately, I'm not getting to show you a whole lot of new stuff anymore because there's not a lot of new stuff to do. Today is particularly windy, so I'm not going to be using the tarp today because, in fact, I think there's a lot of things I can't do because of the wind. We'll get to them eventually. The little bay, there's a few new things I'm going to be able to do with her that you have seen me do before, but I'm going to show you again. You've seen me do them with the little paint, and I'm going to do them again with the bay, just so you get, it doesn't change much. Things get done pretty much the same, but before we can move on with that one, there's a few other basic things that you've already seen lots of, you don't need to see more of. We got to work on them to get them really good before we can move on. Although I will give you a little heads up on what we're doing today. It will be more of the same as usual. I'm going to take the little paint into the round pen. Maybe I'll have her side up to the mounting block. I'm not quite sure what all we're going to do with that one. And then the little bay. Well, I think I'm probably going to do something that will be, well, somewhat new to her, but not something that really warrants filming, and well, it's not something that's really easy to film anyhow, because I'm going to take her for a little walk around the yard because we haven't done that with her yet. We're going to take her out in the little clearing area and see how she responds there, and then walk her around up into the yard. To the best of my knowledge, she has never been there. I've never taken her there, and so I think it's a good idea to take her and see how she reacts, because something that I have found over the years, and I'm going to, it goes along with this, taking a horse new places, is working with a horse in different places is very helpful. And I've done it a number of times with different horses, take them to different parts of the yard after we get them working pretty good in the round pen in an isolated environment. We take them to a little stranger environment. And quite often you'll find that the horse does react quite differently. Not horribly, but you know, all of a sudden they think, oh, new place, new rules. No, rules are the same. You still got to do what you're asked to do and things like that. And well, by doing that constantly, I do believe I mentioned it in another video, how taking them different places, they get used to the rules never change. Now, that's one of the important things. And you will find that they frequently do behave differently in different places. So that's one of the reasons it's always good to take a horse different places. So that is one of the things we're going to be doing with that one today. Yeah, we're going to just do some basic work in the round pen, direction changes and stuff like that, get her to respond to my cues and lead a little better before we even want to consider trying to take her into a really strange place that she's not comfortable with. And that's when we will progress to taking her out for a walk around the yard, up and down the driveway, whatever. Something a little bit different, you know, just because different's good. Different's always good. But I want to emphasize a couple of principles that I think I've demonstrated throughout my videos here, and I think they're very important. As well, there's quite a few actually things that I've done that are important, but there's a couple of basic things that are very important. One being the concept that kind of became the title is the baby steps, going slow. I always said you can never go too slow. You can only go too fast. And it is very, very important that no matter what you're doing, that start off slow and never exceed what the horse can handle, because at that point it has a meltdown and it's not learning a darn thing, and you're just wasting your time. And you'll notice when I was working with the tarp, I went slow. I went in stages, in steps, a little bit at a time, a couple different ways. And sometimes we even had to start all over again. And you're going to have to do that, but never exceed at any given day, even if it's nowhere near where it went to yesterday. Today, well, if you got to start all over again, like I said in the recent video, you start all over again, and that's what you'll do. But never ever exceed what the horse is capable of handling. And another thing that is kind of a principle of one of the things I do, or how I do things, it's a little bit different than some people, is force doesn't work. We don't use force. And you will notice that in all of my videos, well, most of them I'm barehanded. You won't see me poking and prodding and forcing the horse to do things. And if a little encouragement with the flag doesn't work, that's where we quit. You know, that's about as far as we go. And it doesn't involve even touching the horse. You know, because I did a video a couple years back where I included a link to another video that I had found on the internet, and it was basically a Belgian draft horse. And if you're not familiar with those things, they're, you know, typical draft horse, big, sturdy, strong horse. Their job is pulling, and the horse was in harness, and it was approximately 1,800 pounds. Not sure what that is in metric, but anyhow, 1,800 pounds. It was a big horse, you know, typical draft horse. And it was in a harness, and the guy tied a very stout, I don't know how big, maybe that big around, rope onto the back of that harness. And they had a tug-of-war with 18 men. And that horse just walked away. Force doesn't work. Even 18 men could not outpower one horse. So just to give you an idea why force doesn't work, well, it's foolish to even try and employ it, because you're not going to win a battle. I mean, even the little horses I've been working with, if you know, they took a notion to pull back hard or something, I'm not going to win a tug-of-war with them. I mean, even those little ones, they outweigh me about 4 to 1. So I don't stand a chance. They're in, you know, much better physical condition and much younger than me. So I don't stand a chance with them. So that's one of the things, you know, force doesn't work. Find a gentle way. You know, one of the mottos of my channel, and it's in my intro, there is a better way. Let's find it. I don't know what it is yet. Sometimes there's stuff out there I don't even know about yet. Over the years, I have evolved a lot. I've changed my training a little bit. Not drastically. I've always been on the same basic road, but sometimes we just, well, we find a little better rut in the road to drive in. I get my drift. No radical changes, but you know, we do learn new things, and we're always trying to improve what we're doing just a little bit. We know we're heading in the right direction, but you know what? I think maybe there's something a little bit better over there, and we're going to try that. So don't be stuck with thinking you got to do things my way exactly. I've said that before too. Please do not ever think you have to do things exactly the way I do them. Certain things, certain principles that I use, I encourage strongly. Like the going slow, taking your time, going in steps, not exceeding what the horse can handle, and not using force. Those are absolutes that I strongly believe in. But after that, what I'm doing isn't an absolute at all. And for you and your situation and your horse, you might have to do things a little bit different. Guaranteed, you're going to have to. So anyhow, just standing around here with my hand out, it's not that it's horribly cold. Okay, it's not warm. And for the most part, the sun's behind clouds most of the time. Once in a while, it peeks out. It was supposed to rain today. They changed their mind on that. And it's quite windy, no sun, and it's only about 10 degrees Celsius, which I don't know, around 50 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever. Not a particularly nice day, and with a good breeze going. I call it a breeze, some of you'd call it a gale force wind. others, I'm sure some of you might even consider it a calm day. I don't know, because I know there have been places where I have been where this would be a pretty calm day. Just because when you're at the edge of the mountains, the way that even a light breeze funnels down through the mountains and picks up speed as it goes between the mountains, even just a very light breeze can turn into a pretty strong wind depending on your location. So maybe to some of you this isn't all that bad, but to a lot of you it might be terrible because you don't get wind like this either. So anyhow, I'm going to go play with some horses. I'm going to come back, maybe show you something. I'm not sure what we're going to do today. The horses have moved again. Well, they're not too far away, fortunately, so we don't have too far to go to get them, but we're going to see what we can do today, and maybe I'll get to show you something. I sure hope I do, because I feel kind of bad when I don't show you anything. And well, it is a long weekend, so we got 3 days in a row to work on them, and maybe we can come up with something, although all 3 days a chance of rain, so, and it's not going to be particularly warm, so yeah, I'm not looking forward to being out here working with them, but you got to do what you got to do. And you know what, I think maybe today would have been a good day to bring my gloves out with me. I left them in the house, darn. Yeah, well, the ones I like. I got another pair in the car, though. Actually, I got a couple pairs in the car we might use, because that breeze is a little cool on the hands. Okay, I suck. I don't like the cold, all right. But I'm going to try desperately to show you something new and interesting. If nothing else, I'm going to come back and talk a little bit about some of the things that I think are really important for you to grasp. I know there was something I was thinking about last week, but of course that was almost a week ago, and I kind of forgot about it since then. I don't remember what it was, but I had something in mind I was going to talk about. I don't remember what. So anyhow, I'm going to try and package up some of the basic principles that we use around here, how we do things, and you know, I might make it look kind of easy. Well, actually, it is kind of easy. It's not as hard as you think it is, and that's one of the things is we tend to make horse training a lot harder than it actually is, because in our minds we've already got our mind made up that it's going to be a tough job. And although it does require a little bit of skill and technique and stuff like that, overall it's not a horribly tough task. Most of you can do it. I've said in many of my videos is if I can do it, you can do it. You know, I'm nobody special. And I just happen to spend a little bit more time watching other people's videos, reading articles, and playing with horses. So I've learned a bit in that regard, but I'm nobody special. You know, and if you can do it, I can. Well, if I can do it, you can do it. That's it. That's how it goes. If I can do it, you can do it. So anything that you see in these videos, just remember, you can do it, because there's nothing special. I'm not doing anything special. I have a little bit better knack at it because, well, I've been paying attention to the horses a little longer than some of you probably have. But I'm not doing anything you can't do. Just pay attention. Watch the horses. Spend some time with the horses. Watch some videos, not just mine, as many as you can find that are got some kind of reasonable training in them that doesn't involve chasing a horse around and beating on it or tying it up or silly things that, you know, involve force of some kind. You don't want to employ that at all in any of your training methods, because that doesn't really work. But I'll also explain again, I think I did already a little bit when I was talking about desensitizing recently, is why we do some of the things we do. And that's partly because we're trying to prepare the horse for the real world. And when it's constantly windy like this, and which seems to be more and more common all the time around here, you want a horse that isn't going to get freaked out and upset and have a meltdown every time something blows past it or flaps near it or whatever, just because of the wind. Every time, you know, wind makes things move. Simple as that. Even pretty sturdy things move in the wind sometimes. And those are things that your horse has got to get used to. And that's one of the reasons we do all the desensitizing we do. I'll show you more about that stuff. I've showed you quite a bit of it, but there's actually a tiny bit more yet that I haven't done, partly because it's stuff I used to always do it in an indoor arena, and so friggin' windy out here, I can't do it. Having balloons popping all over the place. Well, the balloons would blow away before I could pop them. Things like that. And yeah, there's a few things that are going to be a little tough, but we'll show you as much as we can, honestly, and we're going to do as much as we can. And I think that even if we don't use the balloons, which, by the way, one more little cheap trick, you know, like I said in a recent video, is, you know, the tarps. Those tarps that you use, there's a lot of things you can do with the tarp, and they're dirt cheap. You catch them on sale. You can pick one of those things up for $5. You know, they're not expensive. Balloons, you go to your dollar store, a Dollar General, Dollar Ram, Dollar whatever it is, you know, the cheap store, and you can buy a package of 100 or 50 of those things or whatever for a couple dollars, and inflate them as full as you can. They can be filled without popping, and then explode them around the horses, and you can use things like that. There's a lot of stuff that you can use that doesn't cost you. You don't need a lot of special fancy training tools. That's what bugs me sometimes too, is aside from the clinicians that are all constantly telling you, buy my DVDs, come to my clinics and learn everything I know and you'll be a horseman just like me, which is a bunch of BS. They also tell you you got to have the horseman stick or the training stick that they have, the halter they have, the lead rope they have, and all this stuff, and they're constantly trying to sell you stuff. You don't need it. You don't need any of that stuff. Honestly, you can get by with some of the most primitive and rudimentary things that you're probably going to already have anyhow if you've got a horse. Your typical lead and rope halter, you can do an awful lot with one of those. And in fact, I completely trained a horse one time with a web halter. Not even a rope halter. I didn't even have a rope halter. The horse came with a web halter. That's what fit her. It was the right size and everything. She had a different shape head. And that halter happened to fit her quite well, so I thought, well, what the heck, it was what I had. I didn't have a rope halter at the time, so I used a web halter. That's what I used. And with nothing more than an ordinary 10-foot lead and a web halter, I completely trained a horse. I didn't spend a penny on training tools for that horse. And I completely trained that horse up to the point where I rode it. And when I rode it, I think at that point I had evolved to a rope halter. I had picked up one by the time I rode the horse. And I rode her in a rope halter and a $200 saddle that I picked up that somebody didn't want. And so you don't have to spend a pile of money to get on your horse or to train it. So anyhow, I'll get back to you when I got more to share with you. See you in a bit. There we go. Oh, you gotta come in a little. Get your bum over. There we go. Nice and straight. See, when doing something like this, it's partly up to the human too, because you got to give the horse a fighting chance by starting it off straight too. You can't have it coming in at a goofy angle and expect this stuff to work. Now, it is pretty natural for many of them to swing their butt out when they get up into place almost. And she did this a couple times too, and it looks like she might actually do it again this time. One more step, dear. And whoa, right there, perfect. Nope, we got lucky, she's not doing it this time. So, just one of the many new things we're doing with this one. And kind of interesting. She actually did this not too bad. We were working on the side pass today a little too. She'd never done that before. That was another first. With her, that didn't go so good. We actually had to use our stick and tap on her hind end to get it to move over with the front end. And I don't like touching a horse, so it's something I don't encourage doing, but I'm going to show you maybe the next time I'm doing it, because it actually got pretty interesting, because she's kind of a stubborn little thing, and you could tap on her until the cows come home. Yeah, she won't do anything, and sometimes you got to tap a lot harder than you'd really like to before she actually responds. And at one point she was actually kicking at the thing. Yeah. Another thing we did, of course, I said I was going to take her for a walk. I did. Took her for a walk up in the yard. She could care less. She probably would have gone a lot further than I took her, I'm sure. The other one, I took her up there too, and she went further than she's ever been, but she was still pretty wary about some of the new places. There's still some stuff up there. I don't know why. objects, buildings, things like that. Had her a little worried, even some of the trees for some reason, and she really didn't want to get too close to the house. There's something about that big building she didn't feel good about. Not sure why. Something about it she don't like, but these are all things you have to take into consideration. No two horses are alike, and like I said, this one here, I walked her up into the yard. Heck, I probably could have taken her in the house if I wanted to. She doesn't really care. But other things, she gets pretty worried about, and sometimes she gets a little reactive to things. There was a couple times today when I was asking her to move around, she got a little bit, well, the front feet came off the ground a little bit, and when I was tapping her with my stick, she was kicking at it. Again, a reaction we never had with the other one, but then we never had to tap her with the stick to get her to do things. We just had to explain to her what we wanted, and no problem. This one, she's a little bit of a cement head sometimes. Oh well, that's what you get. Uh-oh, she moved. Guess what? Start over again. And I'm going to put her back over where I wanted her in the first place. Now I'm going to bring her back in. And just in case she swings out again, I'm going to get the end of my lead ready. And I'm going to bring her back up. Nice. Good so far. And I think one more step would be nice. Because most mounting blocks aren't this wide. One more step, dear. Can you take another step? One more step. Oh, good girl. There we go. Not quite perfect, but I think that's passable. We'll accept it. Because if this was the real deal and she had a saddle on and I was trying to get on, I would have absolutely no problem getting on her. This is definitely, my leg is right where the stirrup would be. The saddle would be right in here. This is perfect. And it's close enough that, I mean, I could very easily, yeah, that wouldn't be a problem at all. So, the concept is there. Can we improve it, get her a little straighter? Yep. But to begin with, I'm pretty happy with this. Although you got to be careful doing stuff like this. I get a little lax sometimes, and I'll say, yeah, that's good enough. We'll let it go for now. But other times, the problem is, if you let that go, that's the standard that becomes. And it'll never get better. Because the horse will think, well, that's all I got to do. That's as good as I need to do it. And they're happy with that. And so that's what you'll always get. So that's one of those things you kind of got to figure out what you can and can't get away with, and what you should and shouldn't do, and that sort of thing. And you got to set standards, because I've said before, I think I said once before, I know I said once before, I probably should have said it more than once, is what you get from your horse is what you accept. And I don't want her eating, I want her paying attention to me. So I'm going to give her a bump on the halter. Wasn't hard. I'm going to do it again as soon as her head went down. Yeah, she's thinking about it. Nope, there we go. But this is what you're going to get. Now, if I was out riding, I'm not as opposed as some people when they have if they're riding or they have the lead on or anything, the horse is not allowed to eat, period. It has to be totally totally focused on you at all times. And although that is partly correct, it is a little excessive sometimes, and I think people get a little carried away. When I'm out riding, I will quite often stop and let the horse eat. But when I pick up the reins and say, okay, it's time to go again, the horse knows instantly, head up, and away we go. There's no argument about it. So I'm not doing this to be mean to her, to keep her from eating. I just want her to get used to the idea that you better pay attention to what I'm requesting at all times. Not that I have anything against her eating. If I was busy doing something and preferred not to, well, for example, when I was just setting up the camera, I wasn't going to bother arguing with her about whether or not she wanted to eat. She was chewing on the grass around here, and I didn't care. Because at that moment, it wasn't necessary that she paid attention to me. But I just want her to get in the habit of it. And this is great. Look at that. She's really paying attention to me now. And all I had to do is just bump the halter a couple times. She's thinking about it. The nose is going down, and then it comes back up. She's really thinking about it. I mean, this is a perfect example of what you get is, you get what you accept. If you were to accept her eating, that's exactly what you get all the time. But I don't accept that, so that's not what I get. And she knows that's not acceptable, and so she doesn't do it. And, it's not like she's not going to get to eat. I'm going to let her out here in a minute, and she's going to get to go graze and eat all she wants for as long as she wants. I don't care. She can do what she wants then when I put her back in the pasture. For now, no, I want her paying attention to me. So I'm not depriving her of food, so it's nothing like that. And actually on that note, I should mention something that is often, in fact, I've never heard anybody even mention it. It just kind of came to mind because I know this stuff from experience that training sessions should probably not exceed an hour without a break, for the simple fact that the way the horse's digestive system works, they need to take a break and eat. Because unlike a human, in human, your stomach produces digestive acids as you consume food. A horse doesn't work that way. They produce acid all the time. So they require a constant intake of food, or at least fairly constant, fairly regular. And that's why it's not a good idea to have exceptionally long periods of time where the horse doesn't get to eat, because that can cause ulcers and all kinds of other problems. It is always best, whether you're riding or training or anything else you're doing, let the horse eat for a while. It's not the end of the world, okay? It kind of goes right along with what we're just doing here. Yes, I want the horse paying attention and responding to my cues, but I do not want the health problems that go along with not allowing her to eat. So that's about it for now. I'm going to take the halter off. No, not yet. I'm going to put her out, take the halter off. Yeah, that's how we're going to do it. And no, actually, I'm going to shut the camera off first. Then I'm going to put her back in the pasture and then take the halter off. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. And, well, we'll be back in a while with something else, I hope. And actually, I'm kind of glad I didn't try taking the camera along when I took her out in the yard, because there was absolutely nothing to show you. Absolutely nothing. She couldn't care less. We walked all over the yard, and I could have taken her a lot further than I did, but I thought, you know what? She was being good there, good enough. It was way further than I took the other horse the first time I went out there, and she had no issue whatsoever with anything. She was like, there was not a thing that we went by that bothered her except for one piece of plastic by the chicken coop. I actually stopped and grabbed it and slapped it up against a fence so that it would move and make some noise, and she jumped back a little bit, just a little bit, and that was it. That was the end of it. So, but we got lots more to do with her, and I'm gonna let you see it. I'm gonna, well, you just saw, you saw what I did with the other horse, okay, with the mounting block. Now this isn't a mounting block. Yes, I know. I'd actually like something a little bit higher, maybe not quite so big. I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. We use what we got, and it's not so much about the mounting block. It's just the convenience of having a horse that'll listen to you. And when it comes to mounting, even on the ground, that can be good, because then you can get the horse to stand right in front of you where you want it without swinging out when you're trying to get on it and moving around, all this good stuff. So even if you don't have a mounting block or never use one, it's okay. This type of thing is still useful. It is still very, very helpful. My own horse knows how to do this stuff, and I've used it with her on a number of occasions for that exact reason. Is she'll stand right in front of me when I'm when I want to get on. Okay, so it's not something that is wasted on a mounting block. If you don't have one, you can still do it. There's no mounting blocks around here anywhere. I'm still doing this for that exact reason. You can use, like I said before, you can do the same thing. Tailgate, fender of a trailer, set of steps beside the house or the barn, or well, whatever's handy. Stack of pallets, I told you that too. I've used them. They work great. I really like a stack of pallets, actually. Whatever's laying around, this thing, again, this is a toolbox out of the back of a pickup truck. It isn't being used anymore. Perfect. It's nice and sturdy. I can stand on it. It's not going to hurt it. And well, actually, it wouldn't matter if it did anyhow, because it's not being used anymore. It's basically garbage. And but it was laying around here, so that's what I'm using. So anyhow, I'll bring you back when I come up with something else to either talk about or to show you. Anytime, I'm going to turn the camera off and go put the horse in the pasture and take the halter off, just like I said. Bye now.